Barton. I'm Digital Communities and Marketing Officer at Propertymark, and I'm here with Nathan Emerson, Propertymark CEO, and today we're going to be looking at the implications of material information for property agents. Could you give us a brief overview of the new material information rules, the changes that are coming, the timeframes, and whether they apply to both sales and lettings listings?
Absolutely, Natalie. So this is quite an interesting development, really, and it's about complying with consumer protection regulations and ensuring that the consumer has the information they need in order to be able to make a transactional decision. And trading standards have been heavily involved in this, along with the Competitions and Markets Authority and DLUC, coming together to ensure that that information, with assistance from the main portals, is fully available for the consumer. It's been split into three parts. We've got Part A, imaginatively Part B, and also Part C. So Part A is the first area that's being implemented. It actually came into force in May, and the portals have already started making considerable changes to ensure that the property listings reflect those areas. So the Part A part is effectively three core areas. We are looking at the council tax banding. We are looking at the tenure of the property. Is it freehold? Is it leasehold? And equally, the next stage of things is obviously the pricing aspect. What price is it, and what are the costs involved with that? Certainly if it's a lettings property, you know, what are the deposit levels, etc. So the whole idea is that information will be available. It'll be visible on the front landing page of each property, on all of the main portals. So that's the first stage of where we're going. Parts B and C, which come later on, are more in depth, and they focus more on the accommodation, the type of the property, the build of the property, and there are some further areas which obviously will involve more investigative work.
So what are the benefits to buyers and sellers of having this material information available right from the beginning of the process? Does it not just delay getting listings onto the market?
Certainly for the Part A side of things, no. Most of that information is already available anyway, and most agents will be doing that. The slight changes that have come through from it have been on the pricing aspect, where things like we would normally look to buy a property and there'd be an asking price. In some areas and in some circumstances, a vaguer pricing model like price on application has been applied previously, but having reviewed that, they do feel that that is potentially misleading to the consumer. And actually, if they start pursuing a property and making inquiries and then find it's out of their price range, quite frankly, that's been a waste of time, effort, and money and resource.
And what about for agents themselves? Isn't this more work for them?
Again, Part A, no, I think they're doing it. And actually, when you look at the Part B and Part C areas, the majority of that information will be being provided and being worked through their normal systems. You know, is it a detached house? Is it a semi-detached house? How many bedrooms has it got? The EPCs are obviously covered under separate legislation already. That's already included. So the majority of that will be done. Any agents that are using a property information questionnaire, that it will capture everything that sits within Parts B and C anyway. The only areas where agents will need to consider once Parts B and C come in is areas such as, is it non-standard construction? Is it a different style of construction? Are there any mitigating circumstances that a buyer may need to be aware of? Are there any restrictive covenants on the property, or any footpaths or any boundary disputes? So those areas there will involve additional work and additional investigation.
How do agents ensure that they're acting compliantly with these rules?
So trading standards do provide guidance. There is a guidance fact sheet, but equally we provide additional guidance to members and expand on that a little bit further as to what they can do. So members shouldn't have a problem. We will be providing the relevant information that they need. And as we progress towards Parts B and C, then we'll feed through those fact sheets. We'll give them the sources of the information and give them best practice guidelines on what to do, how to do it, and make sure they're aware in advance, really.
With Part B and C in the pipeline, should agents be sort of proactively getting involved now, preparing the groundwork to have those systems in place?
I would suggest so, purely for the fact that it does involve a degree of ensuring that the correct information is available, and the last thing you want to do is be in a position where we are holding up those properties going to the market. Probably one of the only areas where there are probably slight delays in the automation, shall we say, is the relationship between the CRM providers and the portals. So they will usually take an API feed at the moment, and it does mean development for some of the CRM systems. So you will have the information, it's making sure that they have the requisite field there that will then upload directly into the main portals really and drop into those listings.
As these rules progress, how will Propertymark be keeping members up to date?
So we're heavily involved in the working groups that have gone through the process with this from the very beginning, and so the good news is on that, obviously it has helped us enable and be able to feed into the process and ensure that you know, things are balanced, certainly from our point of view. I think where we will start to work through is as we know that there are changes happening, and once we get clarity on the final dates, there is a date time schedule that everyone's working to, but that's not set in stone. So as the progression happens, we will be forewarning members, we will give them information in plenty of time, and we will help them to plan and prepare ready for that.